hey, we had a big event in New York City last night, a marquee event. And no, it was not Russell's photo op at the statue in Times Square. It was the mayoral debates.
Although that was big.
That was big.
But this was bigger. For some reason, more people watched this. We had our big mayoral debate where 9 candidates, only 2 of which anyone's paying any attention to, vied to become the next mayor of our illustrious city here. Now, this race has heated up a little bit because Cuomo, the sex criminal who killed a lot of people's grandmas and granddads, has been solidly in the lead, but his self-described socialist competitor, Zoran Mamdani, has come. We have ranked choice voting now in New York, and on the ranked choice side, he's about 8.5 points behind Cuomo, which is a big jump. He started out when he got into the race very much like the Sanders kind of trajectory, 2 to 5%.
Right. So the way this works, just very, very briefly, the counting stops when one candidate crosses 50. So that's why it took 10 rounds for Cuomo to cross 50, which is a lot. That shows you he is struggling.
Right. And Adams, you might wonder why Adams was not in the debate. He's actually running as an independent.
Yep.
Which I think is wise as far as it goes. I think he saw he was going to get embarrassed by losing the Democratic primary as the incumbent mayor, which almost certainly I think would have happened. But it's a sad statement on New York politics that these are our choices. Now, I know a lot of people like Mamdani. I did get to meet him and interview him very briefly at one of the Tesla protests. I was not impressed. I asked him a very direct question about what you would say to people who have been disillusioned by the Bernie campaigns about getting into your campaign. And he ducked that. Like I asked him how he feels about making 16 years the age of consent. Like he would not answer that straight. He went into his whole politician song and dance. So, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. My impression is he's a very slick, talented politician without a lot of substance behind him. I would love to be proven wrong. That having been said, he was head and shoulders the only human on that stage in a kind of menagerie of grotesqueries. So this was early in the debate. He had a pretty interesting and sharp exchange with Mr. Cuomo.
Difference between myself and Andrew Cuomo is that my campaign is not funded by the very billionaires who put Donald Trump in D.C. I don't have to pick up the phone from Bill Ackman or Ken Langone. I have to pick up the phone for the more than 20,000 New Yorkers who contributed an average donation of about $80 to break fundraising records and put our campaign in second place.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani, thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you want to respond to that?
Yeah, please. Mr. Mamdani is very good on Twitter and with videos, but he actually produces nothing. For him to accuse me of lying. He also called President Obama a liar and said President Obama was evil. So take everything with a grain of salt. Donald Trump would go through Mr. Mamdani like a hot knife through butter. He's been in government 27 minutes. He passed 3 bills. That's all he's done. He has no experience with Washington, no experience in New York City. He would be Trump's delight.
All right, brief response, Mr. Mamdani, then we have to move on.
Look, it's true that I don't have experience with corrupt Trump billionaires who are funding my campaign. I don't have experience with party politics and insider consultants. I do have experience, however, with winning $450 million in debt relief for thousands of working class taxi drivers and actually delivering to the working class people.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani. Mr.
Okay, so very talented. He's a 35-year-old guy, as Cuomo put in, very cutting fashion. Hasn't been in politics long. Great poise. Never saw him get rattled. You want to see how much poise that guy has? Go watch our live coverage from the Tesla dealership, because there's a woman, I don't even know what handle she goes by. We keep running into her.
No, she calls herself Crackhead Barbie.
Is that what she calls herself?
That's her handle, yeah.
Crackhead Barbie chased him half naked for like 4 blocks, and he didn't miss a beat. He took it in good humor, handled that about as well as you could handle something like that. So, he's very talented. He is very talented. I will say that. So Cuomo, of course, was asked about the sexual harassment. We don't need to see that. He denied it. More importantly, he was asked about undercounting the COVID deaths and whether he lied to Congress when he said that they hadn't undercounted the deaths.
Whether or not it's political and whether or not your congressional testimony was truthful, were you, now that you've had time to reflect, involved in producing that report that undercounted those nursing home deaths?
Oh, there was no doubt that my administration produced the report, and it did not undercount the deaths.
Okay, but you're still saying you were not involved in producing it.
It's very clear. That's the Trump line, the MAGA line, right? Because this was during the Trump reelection.
Okay.
The New York reports always counted the number of deaths where they occurred, in a nursing home or in a hospital.
Okay.
Now that all the dust is clear.
Okay, we have to move on, though. We have to give other people a chance. We'll all have a lot more time on other subjects.
It's a yes or no.
It's a very easy answer.
All right, hold on, candidates.
Did you lie to Congress?
All right.
Will you acknowledge the deaths?
Okay.
I mean, it's a very black and white.
Okay.
Did you lie to Congress, or will you acknowledge the death?
All right,
15,000 people died, and he still won't answer your question.
All right, here's the chance to answer the question as Melissa presented it.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
No, I told Congress the truth. No, we did not undercount any deaths. When they are all counted, we're number 38 out of 50, which I think shows that compared to what other states went through, we had it first and worst, and that only 12 states had a lower rate of death. We should really be thanking the women and men who worked in those nursing homes and did an extraordinary job.
Very quick yes or no follow-up, if I may. Just the question is, were you involved in the producing of that report? It's just a yes or no question.
I was very aware of the report. I spoke to it at press conferences.
No, before it was released, Mr. Cuomo. The question is about the production of the report, the creation.
All right,
Okay, we're going to move on. We're not getting an answer. We're not going to
stand by the report.
No, it was just whether or not you were involved.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Mr. Myrie.
Yeah, he would not answer it. He would, as you could see.
No, do I have this right? Is he saying that because there were certain people who died at hospitals instead of nursing homes, was the implication of the report that those were not his fault, even if they may have gotten sick in a nursing home? Because they didn't die at the nursing home? That's what it seems like they're trying to do.
It seems like that's what he's saying. He's saying that our numbers on their terms were correct. There were other numbers, but he would not answer the very direct question. Well, were you involved in the preparation? I was aware of it. I knew about it. I heard about it. A guy told me about it. He went Jackie Mason there. Now, I must say the moderators, it's funny because you watch these national debates with the people that they get for those. These moderators were very New York, man. They took no shit, as you can see there. Okay, he's not going to answer it. All right, we're gonna move on. It was a very New York style moderation, which I actually appreciated. Okay, the best mic drop of the entire evening did not come from either of the two principal candidates. It came from Michael Blake. Here's what he said about the greatest threat to the safety of New Yorkers.
Mr. Blake.
The people who don't feel safe are young women, mothers, and grandmothers around Andrew Cuomo. That's the greatest threat to public safety in New York City. Now,
that I thought was the highlight of the entire evening. Okay, so Cuomo and the rest of them, they were all asked, but I'm only going to take a look at Cuomo's answer here. They were asked about what Trump is doing with trying to take away the accreditation of places like Columbia, and they were also asked about Khalil. Now, to a person, pretty much, except I think Mamdani, I don't think he got into the rising anti-Semitism thing. Pretty much all of them accepted that framing that there's rising anti-Semitism. But all of them, of course, expressed opposition to Trump's attack on Columbia. All of them also said Khalil should be freed. There was one guy up there, Tillerson, I think his name is. Never heard of this guy. He was the real like Clintonian right-wing Democrat on the committee. And he leaned into, well, they have to prove their case. He was the most wishy-washy about it. but even he conceded that there was no due process here. So here's what Cuomo said about these things.
I think you have two separate issues. Number one, I do believe there's been anti-Semitism in the city. I believe it's a growing problem. And I believe the rhetoric about Israel has actually inflamed the anti-Semitism. Put that aside, I think this is just another overreach of the Trump administration. Now he's going to take over the academic universities in this country. He is literally attacking the foundation of democracy, and he must be opposed at every turn. This is a continuation of Trump eroding democracy, chipping away at due process. He should be released. He should be released immediately. He shouldn't have been detained in the first place.
Mr.
Okay, so Andrew Cuomo here would have you believe, in the end, although he's pro-Israel and although he believes there's rising anti-Semitism, he's against the Trump administration's assault on free speech. In the end, he's a civil libertarian. Well, that's not what he said just a couple of weeks ago at an event in the wake of the embassy shootings.
Hate grows. Yesterday did not happen in a vacuum. There has been a progressive rhetoric, political mobilization that has been against Israel and has been anti-Semitic. We have not enforced the laws that we have in place. People say the issue is personal. It's personal for me also. I'm a New Yorker. It's personal.
I
to
am
my
gay.
family,
I am
my
black.
brothers-in-law,
I
to
am
my son-in-law,
Latino. I am a woman.
to my
I am
friends.
trans.
And as mayor, I would institute the IHRA standard all across the board. I would want every school child to visit the Holocaust Museum. We can have zero tolerance for anti-Semitic activity, period. Enforce the law. The law is clear, and enforce the law.
Okay, so to be clear, the IHRA standard is the standard the Trump administration is going with. To be anti-Zionist, to be critical of Israel, is to be anti-Semitic. So there really is no daylight between his view and the Trump administration's view. If he were to become mayor and adopt that standard, I, for example, could have the police coming to my door for this show if you apply that standard. He's saying we need to enforce the laws, and he wants the law to be based on that standard. Well, then all of these students would be liable to getting arrested, including Mahmoud Khalil, who he says he thinks should be freed. Well, you don't think he should be freed if you believe that the IHRA standard should be the standard for prosecution.
So that is a whole lot of free speech hypocrisy on display there from Andrew Cuomo, who sings a different tune when he's speaking to all New Yorkers than he does when he's speaking to a Jewish group. This is how he operates.
Exactly.
You know, he'll
That's,
say
and
one
that's how
thing
he's always
behind closed.
operated.
Yeah, that's his whole thing. That's how he was able to maintain that coalition with the, forget the group. There was a caucus of Democrats, the IDC, Independent Democrat Council, I believe it was, in Albany, who were Democrats in name, but always caucus with Republicans to stymie progressive legislation. Yeah, he'll go into a closed room. He'll tell one group what they want to hear, and then he'll project something different to the masses. He'll talk about his mother's meatballs and Mr. Nice Italian grandpa
he'll do prop comedy with his brother.
Exactly. That's classic Cuomo bullshit.
Yeah. Well, this should be no surprise, because how has he been making ends meet since he got driven out by, like the sex criminal he is, from the governor's mansion? Andrew Cuomo joins high-powered legal team to defend Netanyahu against ICC's war crime claims. Oh, yeah, man. We need this guy as mayor. He's really going to fight against the Trump administration's jackbooted attempts to suppress speech in the city. Okay, so this is just kind of funny. They were asked who the most effective Democrat is, and their answers were pretty revealing. Hang on, did I get that in there?
Yeah, you have that. Jeffries, right there. It's right near Cuomo. Right near his face.
Where is it?
It's right
there.
Mr. Stringer, right now, who's the most effective Democrat in the country?
It's not Eric Adams.
Trying to think of a New York who raises a lot of money who might endorse me.
I mean, this guy, every time he spoke, I thought of the Simpsons character. Ah, Cleveland!
Right. Yeah.
I would say the most effective Democrat right now is Hakeem
Not
Jeffries.
I.
Okay. Mr. Blake?
Not me.
Hakeem
I would say
Jeffries.
myself because I actually defeated Donald Trump when I was vice chair of the DNC.
Mr. Mamdani?
Mayor Wu of Boston.
Mr. Tilson?
My old friend Cory Booker, after his 25-hour Herculean.
Thank you, Mr. Tilson. Mr. Cuomo?
Hakeem Jeffries.
Mr. Myrie?
Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins.
Ms. Ramos?
Maryland Governor Moore.
Mr. Lander?
Boston Mayor Michelle Wu.
Ms. Adams?
I would have to say the next speaker would be Hakeem Jeffries.
Okay,
Wow.
so 3 out of 9, fully 1/3 said Hakeem Jeffries, and one of them said Cory Booker. So this is the Hakeem Jeffries that they say is the most effective Democrat in the country.
Figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government.
Most
What leverage do we have?
The most effective Democrat in the country, ladies and gentlemen. Cuomo answered that. Stringer answered that, and Adams, Adrian Adams answered that.
Well, what's so transparent
Adrian
about
Adams,
that?
who is AOC's number 2 pick, by the way.
Wow. Yeah, no, what's so transparent about that is just how sleazy these people. It's like they don't. I guess when you have a base that is as credulous as the Democratic primary voting base, you can be so opportunistic and so two-faced in broad daylight and trust they won't pick up on anything. There's only one reason why you would say Hakeem Jeffries is the most effective Democrat in the country. It's because you want an endorsement. He is a very high-profile, money-bundling New York politician, and in the home stretch of the campaign, you feel like his endorsement would pull some weight. And so you're blowing some smoke up his ass. That's clearly what that is about. There is no way any of those people actually believe that Mr. What leverage do we have? Hakeem Jeffries is the most effective Democrat in America. There's absolutely no way they think that.
Right.
So then you have to say, well, why would they say that? Well, why would they say that? Hakeem Jeffries is an extremely high profile and extremely well-funded New York City politician whose support could come in handy in a close race down the home stretch. That's exactly why they said there's no other reason why they would say that.
Somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who has alienated so much of the city, he could lose. Like Mamdani's definitely got the progressive Bernie volunteers going out knocking on doors. I know some of these people who are knocking on doors for Mamdani or donating for Mamdani. He definitely has that late breaking insurgent momentum. Is it enough in this home world of the shit libs to overcome their reticence to nominate anyone who's not the establishment, much less a self-described socialist who wants to make the buses free and tax the rich that you're already seeing this hysteria in the press about? Probably not. And that's what I asked him about, which he didn't want to answer. If this had been even 5 years ago, I'm sure this very show would have been heavily promoting his campaign. We've hardly talked about it because we don't want to get a bunch of people involved in the Democratic Party to begin with, but this is part of why. The voters are shit in the party, particularly in New York, and their primaries are rigged. Like, why get a bunch of people all backing this guy who I have my suspicions about anyway? What? So you can come within 2 points instead of coming within 5 points? Like, for what? For what? And so it's strange. Like, he's definitely got a certain progressive momentum, but our whole space has been pretty much silent about this race. And that is why I asked him that question, which he ducked. Also, the fact, and I'm not just saying this because he didn't come on our channel, which we asked him to several times. He's only gone on what? Piker, Breaking Points. Even when he was at 2 to 5, he was not doing what you would expect an insurgent, real progressive to do. Go talk to everybody, right? you'd particularly want to be talking to podcasts in this space. And at that time, like now he's running second, he can snag bigger channels. At that time, he couldn't. And we know people who know him who approached him. He wouldn't come on our show, and I didn't see him go on anybody else's. That's part of why I'm suspicious of him, because he does not behave like somebody who's really an insurgent. He behaves to me more like somebody who wasn't in with the establishment and saw his best path to power as being to take advantage of the volunteer and donation potential of the progressive movement, very much as Bernie Sanders did.
Well, I mean, obviously he's doing something right if he's gaining like this, and I think that's probably a function of the fact that Cuomo was just too odious. That was always the sort of X factor. I expected Cuomo to run away with this, and Russ said he may be too odious, and I'm like, I'm going to have to be proven wrong before I ever bet on an insurgent progressive within the Democratic Party again, because as the Democratic primary voters have proven time and again, there's no such thing as too odious. If Hillary Clinton is too odious for them, what, Andrew? Well, if she wasn't too odious for them, Andrew Cuomo is. If Joe Biden wasn't too odious for them, Andrew Cuomo is. Maybe this combined with the rout in 2024 and the scars from that give him enough of an opportunity. Also, Cuomo did not look like Biden up on the stage, but he did look old. He looked old, and that
he didn't look like a winner. He did not look like a winner.
And that in this context could be important because what happened less than a year ago, the old guy stuck around too long and it burned the Democrats. That memory is fresh in voters' mind. That might be eating at people. So he has a better chance than I expected of winning this primary. I suspect, just as when India Walton beat Byron Brown in the Buffalo primary, and I guess it was 2021, he did not fold and go away and endorse her. He ran as an independent because he had a lot of money and a lot of name ID, and he figured he could win a three-way race. Same thing can happen here. Don't forget, Eric Adams is running as an independent, which means there's going to be a Republican in the race, plus Eric Adams, plus a Democrat. So if Cuomo loses this primary, he could run as an independent, and now it's a four-way race, essentially a race to 30 points, basically, which Cuomo may feel like he can win that. He probably could win that. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that if Mamdani wins, Cuomo bows out. I think you could have a four-way race on your hands between two disgraced major party frontrunners, Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, plus the Republican, plus Mamdani as the Democrat. And I would have to say, again, I'd have to double down in that example of saying Cuomo's probably the favorite in that four-way race. So it could get very, very interesting.
Please clap.